We got one coming in from Ricardo. He says, they're wet and pulley.
Fuck that. That's bad. Don't like it.
With the petition to change Game of Thrones season ending reaching 1 million signatures. 1 million signatures.
So that's not going to go anywhere, but boy, that's a fucking real good pat on the back for a season well done, isn't it?
What is your opinion on people requesting a piece of work or art be changed? It's been happening a lot lately with public outcries for like The Last Jedi and the Sonic film, and for a while the 2012 petition to change the Mass Effect 3 ending. Are these examples of situations the same? Are they different when people ask you to redo a game series correctly?
I think it's. I actually think it's totally absurd to demand that they change it.
I think petitions to change content media is dumb. It's ridiculous.
Like just complain. Just say that it sucks.
If it sucks,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Right? There's only one. Mm-hmm. There's only one that I think is actually like telling the company they should change it is legitimate.
Okay.
And it was for Fallout 3 with Bethesda, because there is part of that ending that is so fucking stupid, and it is actually solvable with like a couple days work, no problem, that it is outrageous that they didn't. So, at the end of Fallout 3, that was a big fucking spoiler episode today. At the end of Fallout 3, you gotta go in the radiation room, and it'll kill you. And you gotta do it. It's a big deal. You gotta go in there, right? And you look at your companions and you go, can't send any of them to do it. They'll die. Even this guy who's a super mutant and this guy who's a ghoul were both 100% immune to radiation. And you talk to them and they go, I would never steal this moment from you.
Nice.
It's important. You got to do this for your life. And you go there, you fucking die.
Yeah.
And when they put out DLC that takes place after that, which necessitates your survival, it's way worse. It's the stupidest thing in the world. Because they did include, hey, Fox, you want to go in there and flip the switch? Yeah, got it. Problem solved. And people assumed...
Oh, no.
People assumed that the way to get to this DLC would be like, listen, you had to go get one of the guys who's immune to it so that your ending would have you live. So you could go on and do the DLC. Nope. They also added a version where you pass out and they go, you know, it's crazy. You totally survived the radiation poisoning. And then you go on and do your further DLC adventures.
Oh, God damn it.
And like,
your microwave hallway doesn't work unless he's the only one that can do it.
Who's there? Or whatever.
Come on.
It's so bad. It's so bad. So not only were people like, they called, hey, change this. So they were planning to change it later. But they changed it to be even dumber. Stupid. Real stupid.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like the problem with the petition is that that's the moment that you go from being critical of a thing where you're like, I thought this was bad, to now kind of being entitled and like weird about it.
Yeah.
Right? The moment you're like, no, I'm petitioning for someone besides the person who made it step in and take it away from them because I want it to be different, right? Yeah. Like, in this case, who's daddy? Is it HBO? Is HBO daddy? Take it away from them. Or George, or anybody who's listening. And in some cases, imagine if you're doing that to someone who's like, let's say I'm self-publishing something, and you're like, anybody who can, take it away from the creator and make... It's weird. So Don't make a petition.
So I totally agree with you. And it does feel a little entitled. And it feels like, this is my story. You made it for me, or whatever, right? However... I try to be attentive to that feeling, because the Mass Effect 3 one in particular, which is where the word entitled became a dirty word, was, remember, followed by the developers of that game just fucking making shit up and being huge liars.
Okay.
Right? So, like, here's the thing, right? Am I entitled to a good ending? No, of course not. That's stupid. But you fucking pissed on me and told me it was raining to get me to buy it. You were... Casey Hudson, you told me that the ending was going to take everything into account and wasn't just going to be one of 3 different colored endings.
All right, marketing
which
lies.
It totally was.
I mean, marketing lies.
So, am I entitled to a good ending? No. But I am entitled to what you told me I was actually buying.
I think though, because what the fuck was that goddamn lie trailer game called again? What was it?
Lie trailer?
Yeah, the original lie trailer.
For what?
The original bullshot.
For what?
For that first-person shooter that was on PS3 early, and it was like a military
Killzone.
Killzone, right? Like that thing is just completely not real.
Yeah.
Not even remotely.
It's the idea. Looking back on that, I feel so happy that I was so adamant and so loud about that shit is so fucking fake. You guys are idiots. Because that was the fakest shit in the world. And there are people going that, no, it's so real, dude. It's totally going to be the PlayStation 3 power. Oh my god. So stupid.
There's something to be said for like the threshold at which a petition is like warranted. To me is, hey, you're nickel and diming us on DLC, and that's garbage. Stop that.
Stop it.
Right? Things like that where you're actively doing something that's harming the audience because your medium is one that like requires additional pay-ins of some kind, you know? Mm-hmm. That's where the audience can be like, what the fuck? Hey, stop, doing this thing that's screwing us over or whatever. That makes it more called for. It's not quite as weird and I don't want to say whiny, but just like, nah, man, if someone writes a shitty story, you get to call it a shitty story. You get to break it apart, analyze it top to bottom.
You get to sift through the shit.
You get to suggest better endings. You get to do everything. But everybody signed this to make someone come along and force a better...
See, you know what what's... When I look at that...
You seem like such a fucking...
I can't imagine... I like to think, rather, that most of the people who sign that don't actually think that it's going to change or anything. But what they're doing is showing, look how many people, for real, willing enough to put their name to paper, are pissed off about how you fucked this up.
I mean, there's the White House thing where it was like, hey, if you get at least 25,000 signatures, then they have to respond to you at the very minimum.
Is that a thing?
That was, I don't know if it's still a thing. I don't think it's still a thing, but I think during at least the Obama administration, that doesn't seem like a lot. If you got 25,000 signatures to sign something
in a country of like 350 million people, that really does not seem like a whole lot of signatures.
Yeah, they had to. They got at least a reply. They had to at least reply to you, right? I feel as if there's just. Anyway, there's a fine line, and yes, a lot of the time it probably is just a matter of showing that, but couldn't you just make a thing that collected, like, it isn't like a petition says like it's change.org.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's not like
this shit sucks.org.
Yeah. So I feel weird about those, Yeah,
I see what you mean.
And I never signed them because I'm like that's stupid. Like it's not my thing. I'm not the creator here. It's not my job to go find somebody to replace what I want.
You know what I do agree with, though? A petition to lock George R.R. Martin in a room until those books are out.
I don't know, man. He was getting real good at those trampoline games. And, like, him blowing those bubbles, there was some sick bubbles in his backyard. We saw him. He's killing it.
You know what's funny? Because we're talking about entitlement, so fuck it. Let's talk about it. I'll talk about it again. Fucking George R.R. Martin is an asshole.
Grimm? Right? What's wrong with Grimm?
Okay, Grimm comes out and says, I don't owe you people shit. I owe you the books that you went to the store and you bought and you got that book. Right? Mm-hmm. That's bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. Because when you write a story...
All right, sell me on this one.
You write a story, you write book one, right? And you say, here's book one. How many books are there going to be? I don't know. There's going to be a bunch, right? 5. I think there was 5 supposed to be originally.
Yeah.
6, 7, right?
Yeah.
Fucking Game of Thrones came out in like fucking 94, man. I was in elementary school when I read Game of Thrones.
And you care.
And I cared.
Whose fault is that? Pat,
no,
stop.
Hold on. No, wait. Let me finish,
okay.
Right?
All right. Okay.
Me buying the second book...
And it's a wild asshole thing to be like, yeah, it's your fault you care.
Me buying that second book is contingent on a fairly obvious agreement between the reader, the purchaser, and the author that stories have endings.
Well,
and to say, once you're rich,
that's an unwritten rule. Look behind you, right over there. See that shelf?
Yeah.
Do you see the books on it?
I see a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what they are?
Some of them. Which ones?
The
are
white
you pointing
ones.
to?
The white ones on the right side of the middle shelf.
I can't see.
It's Vagabond.
Okay.
If you were at my angle, you could see it goes right up to 37.
Right.
Stops right there. Never gonna go past it.
Right.
Talked about it a couple times. He for whatever reason.
Give the money back.
For whatever reason, he can't. Right. There's just it's not gonna go any further than where it got to. I am heartbroken and sad and hurt that that's not going any further. I can't beat the man and tell him to draw me 38.
No, you
wouldn't
do it.
I can't stand on a soapbox with a megaphone and go, fuck you, how dare you, you owe me volume 38. I can't be that person.
No.
And I can't even say that you promised me this and I didn't get it, and it basically comes down to how dare you. But if that's I don't want to make a straw man out of what you're saying. So detail it.
Here's the thing. I don't think I make the joke you should lock him in a room. No, that's obviously ridiculous, right? But it's George. You have been telling people explicitly that you will finish this story, and I don't believe you. And then you talk about how you don't owe that shit to anybody, right? The idea that a man who sold the rights to this story to HBO to become a shitzillionaire and is famous because of this doesn't owe all the people who raised him up.
Are you purchasing his books, or are you purchasing his lies? What? Whatever he says, at the end of the day, even if he was a piece of shit that just completely lied about everything he was doing in between books or whatever the fuck it was, at the end of the day, there is a basic level of this where, product purchased is a book.
Yes.
And then and then outside of that is a social contract.
Yes, I purchased book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books out of 7. I did not I did not purchase book 1 and I did not purchase book 2. I purchased book 1 of 7. Sorry, I purchased book 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3 of 7, 4 of 7, and 5 of 7, and I only read the fucking first one because I was fucking freaked out back when Clash of Kings was out that he wasn't gonna fucking finish these books.
Is of 7 on the book? I'm just curious.
No.
Are they printed on it?
But it says A Song of Ice and Fire, and then at the end of each book goes to be continued.
Okay, but because the of 7 part, I mean,
right?
Because here's the thing, right? Quite obviously, the extreme version of this where, like I said, you soapbox and go, how dare you, you owe me, is bullshit and insane and wrong. You're too extreme. At the other end of it, there is something shitty that is obvious about outright lying about what you're selling to people / about what they should expect from you, and then delivering something else, or quite simply deciding you're not interested, right? If everyone had to hold Kanye West to a candle over the ideas for what he said his albums would be over the years, he'd be fucking done, right?
Good.
But
done.
But he always says his albums are going to become something, and then they completely turn into something else entirely, right? At the end of the day, he has never not swerved at least once or twice between what he says that's going to be or whatever. But so both extremes are wild and unacceptable, and somewhere in the middle obviously lies the believable compromise.
So I
tend to find that in the George R.R. Martin case, like I said, it's like Vagabond. It fucking sucks, man. But a creator can, in the end, do what they want.
Yeah, totally. And I can call them a fucking piece of shit.
Totally. That's okay. That's okay, but you can't actually force them.
No, of course you can't actually force them. But every single time they open their mouth to talk at an event that they got to be at, because they're famous now because of the books you won't finish, everyone in that crowd gets to go, shut the fuck up, go home, write your book.
Yeah. You can call out forever on that. That's sure.
And I genuinely think,
especially if they lie about what's happening and whatnot, then yeah, you can respond
I
to that.
genuinely
no problem.
think that if like you write book 5, which apparently ends on a cliffhanger, and says, "Hey, get ready," like the next day you go, "Hey, I'm writing book 6," and it comes out that you're totally have never written on book 6, that people who bought book 5 deserve their fucking money back because that shit's a lie.
Because it's just there's a thing here that I feel very strongly principled on, which is the same with the change.org shit, where you are not entitled to your entertainment.
No, you're not.
Okay, and if this were the case, right, then every time you played a game on stream that you didn't finish, people could call you out for not finishing it and going, "What the fuck are you doing streaming not the game that you started?" Every time an LP...
Good thing I go out and say on stream, yeah, I might not finish anything.
Right. Or an LP with parts that didn't get to the ending, we would be 100% in the exact same seat.
I don't remember George R.R. Martin coming out before book 1 of Game of Thrones and going, "Yeah, I might not finish these, so be aware of that when you start reading them."
All that to say, sure, but does that one sentence, just out of curiosity, would a sentence like that in its own
absolve everything? Absolutely.
Absolutely absolve everything?
You know why? Because then most people would not bother to read that book. And that is the hidden assumption that you profit off of. Because if you came out and said, "By the way, I don't really have an intention to keep writing this for 20 years. So if this really blows up, I'm just going to stop writing them."
Well, then
very few people are going to read those fucking books because they're not going to give a shit.
See, because I don't like, do you, so every time you start a game in any capacity, do you always put that up front?
No, I have that as a general statement.
Okay.
For stream, I don't work on the same rules.
Because otherwise it'd be like, are
you
reporting for duty for fucking Minecraft or what? What are we doing here? Like, okay.
Right? And, like...
on a principled level.
Yeah.
There is an overall expectation that when you show up here, you are not guaranteed anything. You are not promised anything.
And so if that's fair...
Is it possible that he might have said that somewhere or something to that effect?
Not before he started writing those fucking books.
No, but does the time limit matter?
Yeah.
Okay, so is there...
Once people buy in to a lot... If people bought the season...
So if hold on. So if he said it now... I'm gonna play devil's advocate shit heel, because I actually want to follow this to its logical conclusion. If he said it now, it would not be good enough, is what you're saying.
No.
Okay.
Because then he would have to give everyone all their money back.
What if I could find an LP or a stream where you did not warn people that you would not be continuing it?
Then I would have to give them the money back that they paid me to do it, I guess. Except our business doesn't work like that.
But would they be entitled to call you out indefinitely in the same way you're mentioning right now until you did
Forever.
Okay. And you'd be subject to that.
But it's different because no one ever paid me to play a game.
But but I mean the thing you mentioned about like the ability to call them out.
No, I am talking. No, it makes a big distinction. When I put money forward to buy something, I bought a piece of a story.
And in some cases there are donations towards a specific Twitch game.
But I don't though I am not beholden to those. Those are the Dr. Deathbed been kicking in $5 every week or some shit for fucking 2 years to play Dragon's Dogma.
It's an interesting thought because it
I appreciate it.
But it directly does. you better throw that in there. But it directly does parallel like what we do in this way, and we know because we scrape up against the feeling of like there are moments when you're like, oh man, like I know someone really wants me to get back to this thing or something, and you go, I don't want to get back to that thing.
If I said that I was gonna LP some fucking PS2 game that I needed a UK PS2 to get, so I needed $300, and took the $300 and then started the LP, and then halfway through said, I don't know, this is kind of miserable, I'm not doing it anymore, I would owe those people their money back.
This is more like not that so much as it is not playing the sequel in a series, because we would have completed the games in a certain series up until a point.
No, it's not.
Because
this is one story.
These are multiple books.
This is one story. It says a Song of Ice and Fire.
You are
on the
purchasing
cover.
multiple books.
This, Woolie,
Come on.
This is absurd.
Come on.
This is one story.
Your products are under like literally different ISBNs.
So
each time
so is every FF14 expansion. That's still one game.
Yeah. And I mean, in Telltale, like you can look up a Telltale piecemeal game in that way, but
so you're telling me
no. I'm not saying it's not one story. It is okay. Let me think about that.
I'm purchasing pieces of a story.
Yes, it is. Sorry. You're correct. You are correct. I don't want to phrase this in a way where it makes it seem like I'm saying that the sequels are not connected or something absurd like that.
Yeah,
that is a ridiculous. I'm not. What I am trying to do though is the way I'm thinking about it is that these are different books you're buying.
Yeah,
and you're buying different parts of
the whole.
And how much you're allowed to, how much the creator is beholden to the expectation that they're going to deliver that on social contract. And like I said, you can
also, he's straight up said, I'm going to finish them over and over and over and over and over.
Of course.
Which no one believes.
The more extreme versions of this, like I said, make it more clear. Like the more someone says, this is what I'm going to do, I promise I'm going to do this and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like if for some reason he just wakes up and says, fuck it, I'm out, I quit, I can't do it. Right?
To everyone, ever. I'm dead serious. Because that means he coasted on a lie for decades. That's insane to me. That part, that's a breaking point. Because we have to get to the extremes of the example to kind of feel it. That's impractical.
Because because like at that level where he's like, look, I didn't foresee this coming. I'm just not in a state that I'm capable of doing this anymore. It took more of a toll on me than I expected. So who knows? There could be any myriad of reasons we can come up with.
Then he can go down as history's greatest fucking monster.
Yeah, that's fair.
And as a prolific liar who fleeced millions of people.
I mean, I don't know, like, how you feel about the vagabond story I've told you, but this is Mura basically going, sorry, you know? And it seems like the work was destroying him because he was putting so much into it. Mm-hmm. And, like, part of the reason why I loved it so much was because each volume surpassed the last one in a level of, like, insane amount of detail and what had to be obsessive.
I'm listening. I'm just checking something.
Yeah, it had to be an obsessive amount of effort put in, and ultimately, I guess I just look at that and I go like, there's nothing I can do or say in this situation except, God damn it, that fucking sucks, you know. But I don't feel that I should get my money back for volumes 1 to 37.
Let me ask you a question. The author of Vagabond, what's this guy's name?
Takehiko Inoue.
Inoue?
Yeah.
Okay. So Inoue-san, did he spend most of his year gallivanting around to cons and fancy events and selling the rights to Vagabond to people?
Not quite.
Not quite! And when he described that the manga schedule, which everybody knows manga schedules are fucking brutal, right? It fucking got to him. People went probably like, that really sucks. But I hope you feel better.
But
right?
you do have to take it outside of the context, and you do have to go into other things like what's the there's a type of God, I'm fucking bad at this because my memory is so shit, right? But to make this example work, you have to find something like him, like unrelated in a way, like him going to conventions or how he spends his time in that way.
Right. No. So here's the thing:
is not connected to.
Somebody in the chat said that that's irrelevant, and that is
what
true.
You think of him work? Because what if he writes the books in one night?
That is irrelevant to the specificity of the books coming out. It is not irrelevant to the level of my belief in the reason that he stopped writing it. Right? Mm-hmm. If George came out and said, this shit's really tearing me up, I just can't do it, I don't believe you, George. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the part that...
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's purely about my belief of the reason.
And again, there's a 1% chance that he can write it in one night. You don't know.
That's
he
probably unlikely,
He could be doing coke off of hookers for 360 days a year.
Finish the book.
And then bam, half a week later he's done, right? You don't fucking know. But... there's a threshold point where it's like the difference between like there's three. There's one, this sucks. There's fuck you, you suck, you liar.
Yeah.
Which, in the extreme examples, is totally still within within your bounds of what you can say what the fuck you want about it. If you're, especially someone who's gone all the way in, if you're like a hyper fan, right? Demanding your money back is the crossing point that I think is beyond the pale. I think getting your money back over that is absurd, especially if it's something like a book that you've read that you have in your.
No, here's the thing. I think that he should, if he was a good person. The example that I used, like getting funds to do a certain LP, I personally believe I would absolutely be beholden to give those people their money back, 100%. If I did not use it for whatever the fuck, I think that the same way about Kickstarters. If they use it for bullshit, they should have to give the money back.
I guess
right?
I would agree with that if you took the money from someone specifically to purchase the game that you were going to then play on the stream,
and then I just didn't,
and you just chose not to, 100%.
So
that is there's no gray there. The gray comes into the part where the book is not being written in, like, it's being written and sold to you in different chapters.
Yeah.
So that's where what you're paying for is either what you got or what's promised. Your purchase, your money's not going towards, how much of your purchase is going towards the promise versus what you're walking home with.
The question that is difficult, but I would argue that the answer, a hyper reductionist view of that, in which you say none of the promise is what you spent money on, is ridiculous.
Fair.
Even if it's 99% and 1%.
Fair.
Right? Do I think it is likely or even reasonable or practical to give the money back? Absolutely not. That's totally absurd. No one will ever do that. It has more moved into like this thing of like where Inoue-san, right? First of all, I'm going out of my way to use the honorific because he seems nice. I don't know anything about him other than he wrote a manga that you like and stopped writing it for personal reasons, right? George is out there.
The product that was promised. That's pretty good.
George is out there. He's a character, right? And whatnot. And I feel like the actual discussion that I have is the level of sympathy towards people who don't finish their work and what their personal conduct means
based
to that,
on how you've been following the story.
right? So, Vagabond, right?
Yep.
Personal reasons. Apparently, the workload was just killing him. He's an overworker, that kind of person, something like that. Like he puts too much in and doesn't sleep, that kind of thing, like killing him. Okay.
Perfectionist, prime.
Right. So, I find that sympathetic, personally. And that sympathy is obviously going to change my perception of how mad I am at this person, right? As well as the fact that I don't read Vagabond.
Yeah.
Right? But I think that's pretty clear, right? With George, every step you take down a certain path evaporates some of that sympathy. And for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, the day he sold the rights of the books to Game of Thrones, where it was going to get an ending, bad or not, and he became a fucking rich person, is when that sympathy ended. Because
the rights get to do whatever they want outside of his body, though.
What? No, I'm saying you got to be rich
off
of the promise. And you're rich now.
Okay.
So you have no financial worries in your life. You have so much time. Write the fucking book, George.
Okay. I see what this is. Because here's the thing. As you mentioned, even if it was 99% and 1%, right? As we all know, the truth is probably the unentertaining, boring, but more realistic compromise of somewhere in the middle, as opposed to the entertaining extremes.
Sure. Very entertaining.
What you're seeing here, though, is the difference between the money you're spending on the product that you're taking home and the equivalent of the album advance that an artist gets before they make their music, right?
Yeah, except it wasn't an album advance.
Or a book advance.
But it wasn't. It was an established, famous, big property that became that way in part due to the promise that he was then able to turn into big-ass money.
Are you specifically talking about the money that was for the TV show, by the way?
Yes, of course.
Because at the same time, like, if someone gets paid out for their idea on something, in some cases, someone gets paid out on an idea that's not even fully fleshed out, but they still get to reap the benefits of it. I mean, shit, All You Need Is Kill was a goddamn short story, like nothing, that like got turned into Day After Tomorrow.
Right.
No. That's not it. Whatever.
That's a different one.
Anyway, the Tom Cruise movie. So George R. R. Martin, what is he actually selling, right? And I'm sure the contracts and like tons of legalese defined that he was selling the rights to like what A Song of Ice and Fire is with these books.
Yeah, sure.
And his involvement and whatnot. But
I don't mean
there's a legal definition and a limit to what he's selling.
I don't mean to be rude, but who gives a fuck? No, seriously. I'm just turning a light on. Oh, okay. No, who gives a fuck about the legalese definition of what fucking rights he sold to whatever? The man starts writing a book series and says it's gonna finish. As a result, he gets to be super rich and then maybe decides not to finish it. He should have his rich taken away then.
Because as a result of because the fact that you're bringing in the TV show here is kind of where I'm getting a little bit lost in the weeds. Because now we're not even talking about the book you're buying anymore, though, right? And
no, I'm talking about.
And what
the
if the TV show? What if the TV show sucked and got canceled? What if it sucked after season 1 and got canned, like in the fucking like a pilot out?
I would still feel the exact same way because I've been talking about this for 9 years now. When the fucking show got announced, I was talking shit about George and how this was bullshit, that he had the audacity to fucking sign a TV deal when he hadn't fucking finished the book, and people back 9 years ago didn't think he was gonna finish these fucking books.
I hear that, and it definitely makes sense that like blah, the connection between that bullshit and getting paid your money back for your purchases of the previous books.
We're already way past that.
Sorry, okay.
We're now at the point as to whether or not George is a fucking piece of shit. I believe that if this man is not actually writing the books, he is a massive con man piece of shit.
And if he's actually writing the books, but his process of gardening is just one where
then he just sucks ass.
If the creative process is slow going,
right?
And if these things just happen to take time.
Yeah. Also, I'm talking, by the way, for people who don't know me that well or or whatever, haven't been paying attention to the lore, let's bring up, I'm a Half-Life fan and a Berserk fan too. Okay? I am so done. I am so fucking done with people giving you a story and saying, don't worry guys, we're gonna finish this, it's gonna be so awesome, and then just deciding, I don't really want to work on it. I'd rather play with my knives or Idolmaster or World of Warcraft or whatever.
that I will 100% back and blame the fact that a lot of the time the ending / conclusion is the part that the people making the deal are concerned with the least. The whole point is to sign new hotness and get it out and get it going, get everyone in and on board. In many cases, you're going to see a fucking whether it's a manga series that starts or like some fucking sitcom that has no idea where it's going to go or why it's going to last as long. Like, if the fucking Simpsons was the promise of some sort of complete arc.
No, it wasn't.
Or so, I'm saying it's not.
But do you know what was an explicit promise to this day? It's episode 3. They moved away from doing Half-Life 3, and they said, we're going to do episodes because we'll be able to get them out faster, and we're planning episode 1, 2, and 3. Episode 1 took like a year and a half. Episode 2 took even more. And they're like, don't worry, guys, working on it. That was bullshit.
Yeah.
That was fucking crap. And it is a joke now. The same way that, hey, look, a couple Berserk chapters came out a year. It's a fucking joke.
Ultimately, then, you can conclude by saying that the reasons why the next part of something doesn't come out are based on what those reasons are will determine whether or not you're a piece of shit or an asshole.
Yeah.
Right? the step beyond that acknowledgement of you being shitty about what you're working on or not
is out of the control of any reasonable person.
There we go. All right. Yeah.
That's because like, hey, Gabe Newell, you're a bitch. You told us that fucking Half-Life Episode 3 was going to come out, and then you had the motherfucking audacity to get into the Clang Kickstarter video making a fucking crowbar going, these things take time. A game that also didn't come out, probably because you were in that fucking video and you cursed it. You lying motherfucker.
Just out of curiosity, is there any version of this where someone is actively working on something the whole time and for quality reasons, like restarting, scrapping, redoing, and whatnot, and it actually is them spending a ridiculous amount of time making the thing that you're okay with?
Totally. And that answer is...
whether or not you believe that they're making it.
Whether or not I believe that they're making it.
Okay.
And with Valve, I think the genuine opinion from the vast majority of people is Valve saw that single-player games aren't where the money is anymore, and they canceled it after like probably 3-4 years of fucking internal development, and then went, let's just never tell them that it's canceled. Like, my opinion would change dramatically, and my level of anger over Half-Life would change dramatically if they had the fucking balls to come out and say that they had canceled development on the game like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Do you...
Like, if George came out right now, Game of Thrones, and said, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to retire, I'd still think he's a big piece of shit, but I wouldn't even be mad. I'd be like, wow, you fucking got us. Good job, dipshit.
Okay, do you remember, I want to say, I don't know how many years ago it was, but it was, I think you were talking about, like, the FF7 remake.
I was.
And I want to say we had a conversation where you just didn't think it existed. Slash were like
this for a long time it didn't, and then I was like shocked that it was
okay, right? Do you remember that and the circumstances around? Because it kind of like, I'm trying to remember how that sort of came about, and it was something where it was like you can only make calls based on how much information you're given publicly,
right? And
then the rest is just brazen assumption.
Okay, you know what? I have now figured out how to perfectly explain my feeling. To me, all of this is about honesty, right? All I want from George is honesty, and also I guess I have to believe it, but right? So if he really is working on the books, and he dies tomorrow, and people find like a bunch of manuscripts in his house that he was clearly working on, you know what? I'm sorry, George, I was an asshole. However, if they find a bunch of bullshit, half-baked fucking shit on a legal paper going, whatever, area becomes the night, whatever, right? And it becomes clear that he was really half-assing it. He should have told everyone that he was half-assing it so that he would live in infamy until the day he died. Because that's what he deserved.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Right? Gabe Newell deserves to stand out in front of a crowd and be booed for canceling Half-Life Episode 3. And he deserves to be booed for lying about that forever. And that's why they don't come out and say, well, you know, as things take time, blah, 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 blah. And that, to me, is disgusting. Because you're living behind this, I just won't tell the truth. No one can be really mad at me. Maybe I did make it. Like, fuck off.
Allow me to epilogue that by saying that if Jay-Z was held to the same standard, and then they went to look at his material for what he was working on, they would find nothing because he's one take, all up here. He doesn't write down his bars.
See, that's smart.
So
that's smart.
It's
Jay-Z.
all off the dome.
That's real good.
He doesn't fucking, you know what I mean?
Well, you know what? Good.
And do you follow where the dots are going here?
I do.
Okay.
All right.
So the creative process.
That doesn't work for fucking... That does not work for games and books.
The creative process.
No, but it literally just doesn't.
Well, video games is fucking,
No one's got a fucking
novel
book in
up
here.
In the head?
That's stupid. The concept is laughable.
I bet you it exists.
I bet you that's bullshit if someone tells you that.
I bet you somewhere someone has that.
Yeah?
Someone has that maybe it was just a short story, but someone drafted the
Fucking
whole thing up,
bullshit.
sat down and fucking did it in one.
Well, good for that person, but George and Mura
Jay-Z
are not.
has an album in his brain.
Sure he does. Sure he does.
He doesn't write it down. He's one take. No paper.
That's bullshit.
No paper.
So yeah, and so here's the thing, and here's why I
Turn his fucking headphones up.
Because George, because we can't know, right? We can't know. We're not going to break into his house and find the documents, right? He now currently lives in a state of pseudo-infamy in which people are begging him for the books while cursing him out in public for not finishing the books.
It's just the problem is that what you would consider evidence of might change depending on who or what the person's methods are, you know. In the same way that
But then, you know, let's go back to fucking Half-Life. Mark Laidlaw leaves fucking Valve and goes, yeah, that shit's canceled forever ago. Here's what it was supposed to be. They're just not going to say it was canceled. Right? That's hard confirmed in my eyes. So Gabe should live in infamy as the man who did a big lie and made everyone disappointed. Though I do appreciate his knife collection. It is very cool.
I'll say beyond the honesty, you also want a transparency amount, which doesn't always exist with the creative process, depending on who's doing what.
So this is
not everyone opens up on how they're making the sausage.
Totally. And it
which leaves you to speculate on whether or not Final Fantasy VII is being made at all, or I don't know, Tekken Cross Street Fighter.
It becomes more complex because my inner shit bird wants to say, well, the more famous you are, the more responsibility you have.
That doesn't make any sense.
It does in here, in my chest. It obviously doesn't make sense in my head.
Clearly.
Right?
Thank you for acknowledging that.
But I don't know. It's in that vein of, hey, you sold all these tickets and then you canceled your concert. Right? That's awful. Right? Musical acts.
It's going those analogies, like it's still going into the realm of because that's theft.
Yeah.
Right? That's theft because you paid for this thing and you were not given that thing.
That's right. So here's my proposal. I demand that everyone who writes a book ever again that takes more than one book has to sign a contract with the publisher or whatever, or the whatever. And in the front of the book, you can have one of two things. You can either have...
Yeah. What does it say? What does it say on the front of the book?
You say, this story is not guaranteed to be finished, and I indemnify myself against yada, yada, yada,
this book is pre-alpha.
Yeah, this book is pre-alpha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Demonstrates a work in progress.
Don't buy it if you demand to see the whole thing, because maybe it won't come out. Or...
Yeah, this book is in early access right now. A Song of Ice and Fire is...
Yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, your joke-ass analogy, I actually think is dead on.
This game.
This is an early access story.
Yeah. Until the final one is done.
It's early access.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he should have been more upfront about that. He sold an anthem.
And what's the other thing? What? Picture of his butthole on the fucking cover?
No.
What do you
No. But if you don't finish it,
tar and feather?
You throw tomatoes at them.
Okay. Great.
And you boo them.
All right. It's been real. It's been real.
I am so mad about Half-Life. I am so fucking mad. A game series that I don't even talk about because in the entire history of my fucking work in this industry, Half-Life hasn't been relevant. So why would I talk about it? Other than the fact that I'm, to this day, furious.
Vagabond makes me sadder and hurts me more than anything else in the realm of entertainment media.
Okay.
Right? The only things more are the things that are not entertainment that get into real life and actual shit.
I should mention, this is really important. This is a really important distinction because this is a mood filter on me.
Sure.
If Valve no longer existed, I would feel no anger. Right? If that company went under, shrug. If George was broke, I'd feel bad for him. These things are not the case. These people are drowning in cash. And so my sympathy is at less than 0.
But you are someone who, when given no information or transparency about something, assumes that nothing's happening.
Well, yeah.
So, like, when you're talking about George gallivanting and stuff, if we look at, like, something like, say, the FF7 example or whatever else where there's just radio silence entirely, you assume that it's not happening at all.
Occasionally, but it depends on one core factor, and I'm looking up that factor right now.
All right, close it out with this.
Which is the release date of Dance of Dragons, which came out 8 years ago in July. So almost 8 years ago exactly.
At the start of the show.
Right. When did, what's the name of the book? Storm Swords?
Or A Feast for Crows, whichever one you want to look for.
Storm
Game of Thrones
Swords
was the first one, which was 1996.
Storm is 2000, so I'm going to guess Feast for Crows is the 4th one. Feast for Crows. Feast for Crows was 2005. Okay. So we get Game of Thrones in the early 90s. We get Clash of Kings in the late 90s. Or mid-90s. We get Storm 2000. We get Feast 2005. We get Dance in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's about 5 years each, right?
So is he adhering to his pace?
No, he's not. He's about to hit 8 years, which is almost double. When that happens is when I start to think that nothing exists. When the gap between announcement or scheduling or whatever is approaching like double what it usually is when I start to call bullshit. Or I start to ask for answers. Square Enix gave us an answer, and they said we had to fucking throw all of CyberConnect's shit out. So we had to start over. Okay, that makes sense. Hey, George, did you throw a whole book out? Because if you threw a whole book out, you should probably tell people, and people might ease off.
As we get into our final thoughts here, I would like to give you a warning about a new form of what you're describing, where you might not even know it.
Oh, yeah?
But it could get worse. Well, actually, no, because you're a part of you know Berserk, and you know how that's going down already.
I sure do.
If you want to look at dates, you can go look up JoJo and go look at how long each part was actively being run for.
Yeah.
And then look at JoJolion and see how long Part 8 has been running.
How long is it? It's, you know what? It feels like a while.
You wanna do a quick Google on JoJolion and see when it started?
JoJolion.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like JoJolion has been out for a while. 2011. That's a while.
It's still not done.
Is it long, or do they take? Is there lots of breaks?
It's been going regularly.
Well, then what's the problem?
It's not over yet.
But what? No. This is a different thing.
It's monthly.
It's monthly?
Yes.
Does it hit its monthly?
As far as I know.
Then fine.
Okay.
Because Eric, he put out 7, and if he's hitting, there's no reason not to trust Eric. He's been doing it for decades.
If you get napkin scans, you're cool.
Are they napkins?
People haven't said that, but I remember
that's the Hunter
was where
that guy gets sick.
Yes, I know, and you were the least. You were the one. Oh yeah. Now you stand there.
Yeah.
Now you stand on the side. Oh, but he was sick. You say now.
No. Hold on.
Really, bro?
Let's walk back the whole sentence we said.
All right.
You said even if you get napkin scans.
Yeah.
And I go, are they napkin scans?
Yeah.
And you go, no, but that's what you said. And I go, that's because he was sick, right? That doesn't make that art any less fucking laughable, right? I'm saying that I'm actually saying that if he was for real ill, like apparently he was, he should have not been drawing. He should have written it out or thought about it and drawn it when he felt more well. Because putting out fucking napkin scans is forever, and it's kind of embarrassing. And I will not point at those napkin scans for being fucking laughable. They are hilarious!
This has been a deep dive into the psyche of whatever the fuck you want to call that, of a mind goblin. This is the anatomy of a mind goblin. I hope you've enjoyed. And
but yeah, I'm not worried about Jojo Leon.
Cool.
I am. If you're saying it's monthly and it's been going on for 7 years, though, I do think there's the possibility that it'll be done. Right? Do you think that's possible?
I don't know. I dropped off.
That Ericy's like, I'm old. I look young, but I'm old.
If he wanted to start a new part, he would have rushed an ending and done it already. Yeah. You know, it's hard to say, but mangaka is kind of like a title for life. You know what I mean? Like, it really does feel sometimes like you just kind of like, this is what you do for the rest of your life now.
You know what? I also want to finish this off.
And in some cases, one story. Yeah. But.
Like, I think a lot of, like, I mentioned money and I talk about how George and Gabe are rich now. Mm-hmm. Mangaka don't really get that life, do they?
They get a steady income for as long as they hang in there.
That sucks. Ericy should be a fucking superstar.
Okay, hold on a second, though. But when you get really famous, you get really good money. Yeah, Masashi Kishimoto was fucking rich.
Okay, so Ericy's fucking living in a gold house?
Oh, the most popular mangaka are getting a steady income. And it's by steady, I mean very good.
Okay, good, then.
It's just their 9 to 5.
But it does annoy me when I see George get a shit zillion dollars for this thing, and it's like, I know that Ericy is never going to get to be a super rich zillionaire, and I think he deserves a lot more.
These no. Like the mangaka whose names you know are getting paid. Okay. Make no mistake about it. Cool. So yeah, that marks the end of the spoilers. So you can now listen to.
Oh, I guess it does.
There you go. Feel free to tune in.